Perfect. Okay. Okay, guys, I hope you've got your pens and paper ready. This is going to be a really awesome class. It's a subject that I really love to teach, and there's going to be some really juicy content. And so, have your note paper ready, and let's get started. Now, let me see. And if you could, when you come in, if you could just mute yourself, that would be awesome. Then that way we're not distracted with other noise. Let me just. Okie doke. Can you still hear me? Can I get a thumbs up? Beautiful. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. You're my thumb upper person tonight. Okay. All right. Awesome, kids. Aromatherapy for spirited children and adults. I've added adults into this as well, simply because I think everything that we're going to be discussing tonight is also applicable to adults. Obviously, dosages are going to be slightly different, but other than that, it's okay for kids to use and for adults to use. So in this class, you will learn the science behind emotions and essential oils. We have a beautiful guest speaker as well. And we're going to give you some practical wellness steps that you can really do now and, obviously take those into the future, as well. So just a little bit of a disclaimer, if I can figure out how this works. There we go. The information that I'm going to share tonight is based on experience and on experience that I have gathered over the years that I have been dealing with essential oils from other people. It does not constitute medical advice. Please always consult your physician for that. Now, we cannot name any conditions specifically. That's obviously because of compliance. However, we are dealing with spirited or awesome children, all those age children, awesome children, if you get my drift. So the aim is to focus on the positive and what we want to create rather than going on about labels and things like that. I think that's just generally speaking for compliance. Let's listen to what people tell us, but then we want to flip that and say, okay, well, now what do we want? What do we want to create as an opposite, if you like? So for that, we would like to have more focus, I would think, more self-regulation, some calmness. We want good humor, cooperation. We want to improve social interaction. Basically, we want to help everybody to be more in control. And obviously with that comes good behavior, as well. And that just makes for a much more peaceful, household. Sometimes when you have one disruptive element in the family, it tends to upset the whole neighborhood, doesn't it? And then obviously always consult your physician. So you may or may not have a situation where someone is using medication, and there is no judgment here whatsoever. Sometimes these things need to be brought into the sphere. However, what we're going to focus on today is really the natural solutions aspect. Every family has to make its own decisions as to what is appropriate, for them. So essential oils do not prevent, treat, or cure disease. It's really your lifestyle choices that can help prevent the disease. Your doctor treats the symptoms and fixes the broken parts, but really at the end of the day, it's actually your body that sorts itself out. And that is when we've got perfect balance. That's when your body, mind, and your spirit are beautifully aligned. So we do have some people with us tonight who are perhaps not as well versed in essential oils. So I just want to briefly touch on what essential oils are. So they are the natural aromatic compounds found in plants. They're basically the smelly part of the plant. Sometimes it can be good or bad, but it's what we can smell, and hence aroma is what we're dealing with. We tend to steam distill or cold press our plant material, and we extract our oils, in that sort of fashion. Just as an aside, we were sitting outside this afternoon and my orange tree is finally ready to be harvested, and it was quite extraordinary how much wild orange oil was actually coming off the peel when we tried to cut it. It was quite extraordinary and sort of ended up over our eyes. That was not quite so wonderful. So essential oils are very, very powerful. They're very safe and they're without side effects. Now, as I said, you don't want to get wild orange oil from your zest in your eye. That will let you know that that's not an appropriate place to be. But generally speaking, there are no side effects with essential oils. They're not new to us. They've actually been used for thousands of years, whether that was through ancient, religious practices, whether they were used for anointing people, whether they were used in some sort of form of meditation, religious practices, as I said. So they've been around for many, many years, and obviously they've been used for medicinal purposes, as well. So they're not new whatsoever. And then we're saying here that they were rediscovered in early 1900s in France. Well, that's when it really kind of came back, and that's where the term aromatherapy was actually coined. So today that's great, toddy, so widely used toddy around the world in hospitals. More and more hospitals, more and more surgeries, more and more doctors are now coming on board and are using the essential oils, which is a really wonderful thing to see. And the reason being that, here we have a bit of nature, but it's actually backed up by science. And obviously the science bits, which is my background, really float my boat. But what I really like about these oils that we are dealing with is the fact that they're pure, they're safe, and they're very, very potent. So all the protocols that I will share with you later on will all come back to our particular oils. So I can only talk about our doTERRA oils, obviously. So we know that they're tested to the nth degree, that they are natural, they've got no artificial ingredients, fragrances, fillers, pesticides, herbicides, any of those sides in them. And so that makes them very, very safe. And because they're so potent, because they are not diluted, other than 2-3 oils that are in a carrier oil, we would always suggest that less is more. The body doesn't need a great, a great tablespoon of essential oil to make it work. So as far as our certification is concerned, our CPTG label, which is certified, pure, tested grade, it's very important that we realize that doTERRA spends phenomenal resources on sourcing the oils or the plant material from habitats that are indigenous to that particular plant. They're carefully cultivated and obviously then very, very carefully extracted in a very time-honored fashion. And then they undergo phenomenal amount of chemical analyses, and there are just a few of these that are mentioned. So why is that important? Well, if we're talking to doctors, for example, or any other health professional, or if we're talking to a mum, or in my case, a grandma, I want to make sure that when I suggest oils to be used on my granddaughter, that, that they are pure, that they're not adulterated, that they don't have any other rubbish in them that could possibly, create some sort of negative side effects. So that determines, the certification determines our oil potency, and it also determines our oil purity. And that's absolutely key to making sure that, that we're dealing with a top-notch product. So the ways to use them are really these 3 ways. So aromatically, topically, and internally. So aromatically, I've got my lovely diffuser going here beside me, but equally well, you could just open a bottle and just waft that under your nose, or you could put a drop into your hand, rub your hands together, and then just inhale that off your hands. And that's your personal diffusion that's going on. Topically, we like to encourage people that are new to the oils to apply the oils to the soles of the feet. There is an extra layer of skin there, or it's a thicker layer of skin, and you can't come to too much harm. But with topical application, we would always suggest to use dilution. It's really critical to dilute the oils. It actually enhances the benefits. You're not losing that much oil then into the atmosphere. You're actually getting more into you. And together with the carrier oil that you're using, it will actually enhance the benefit of that. And then internally, for food additives within Australia. As our bottles are labelled in that fashion, you can really flavour hack your food until the cows come home. So I've made my guacamole that I'm going to have after our call, and I popped some black pepper and some lemon oil into that. So we can have some fun that way. And that's, these are sort of the 3 recommended ways for us to be using the oils. So as I said, they're very safe and gentle without any side effects. You want to keep them out of eyes, ears, noses, and other dark places, as I like to say. So keep them out of your pits and your bits, because that's just no place for them. Dilute them with a vegetable oil, please, not water. So as a carrier oil, we would always recommend using a fractionated coconut oil, or you could use a virgin coconut oil if you prefer, although that tends to be rather sticky. And olive oil, almond oil, any of those kind of fats will be really lovely, so that they carry the essential oil through the skin into your body. Should you ever have an irritation, and that sometimes can happen just more by accident than by design, something might feel a little bit hot or irritated, then please always go back to a vegetable oil. Never use water, because that will just simply increase the irritation. And as always, with anything that you apply onto your skin, just make sure that you do a sensitivity test. And of course, sensible people read labels to make sure that everything goes well. So I just want to touch a little bit on the very basics of things, and that is that your body is made up of intelligent cells. Our body is made up of 100 trillion cells, in fact, and they are all wired to restore wellness. They all have an inbuilt mechanism to bring you back to balance. And so that's really super exciting. They know exactly what they are doing. And I'd like to touch a lot on aromatic use of oil, particularly in the context of what we're using, with children or with adults that, perhaps need some calming. So here's a lovely diagram that illustrates what happens as we inhale an aroma, an oil. It travels up our nostril and lands at the very top of our nose, which has got the olfactory bulb. And the olfactory bulb is a tissue that's very richly supplied with nerve fibers. And so we go from these essential oils, which are chemical molecules, they are dissolving on the olfactory bulb, and they elicit a particular response via the nervous system. And that then goes to the deepest part of the brain, which is called the limbic part. And I'm going to talk about that more later. Well, I'm talking about it now. There we go. So the essential oil goes up the nose, which is the vapor. It touches the olfactory nerve via the olfactory bulb. And then it goes into the limbic system, which is a very primitive part of our brain, which is associated with memory. It's associated with visual, so we can see pictures, and it's, as we can see there, it goes through the amygdala and the hippocampus, and that then goes and elicits some sort of memory that we've got stored, something that we might have learned perhaps, but also an emotion that we have experienced before, an emotion that we have come across. From the limbic system, it also goes via the hypothalamus, and it goes through before it goes to the hypothalamus, it actually goes to the cortex, the frontal cortex, which is up here. And that analyzes whether we're in a dangerous situation or not, and what sort of response needs to come as a result of that. So we're going to really look at these sort of the memory, the learning, the emotion side of things, intellectual processes, and we're also looking at the control of aggression, which is perhaps more adult specific, but also we have a lot of youngsters that perhaps have some issues in that sort of area. So I just want to touch on just normal sort of emotions. I mean, every emotion is commonly experienced by every person, and when I first heard this some years ago, it really kind of I guess stopped me in my tracks. I thought, wow, that's pretty profound. So that every emotion is common to every person. So, what do emotions, really look like then? So emotions can be verbal. That's when we, rush off and we'll run off with our words and we get cranky, or we can be very soothing with our voice and very calming and calm people down, or we can agitate them. And emotions can also be very non-verbal. I mean, you can look at a person and instantly whether they are happy, whether they're sad, whether they're trying to express, an emotion. And what is really weird is, it's a sort of a bit of a game, I guess, when you deliberately try to mismatch the two. So I could be shouting in a very angry voice, but have a happy expression on my face. And, it's really quite interesting how one confuse some people. So here are some emotions that we're all very, very familiar with, especially, with kids. And kids have to, when they join our world, they have to kind of learn, what it means to look happy, what it means to be scared or tired or sick or whatever. They have a certain look, and they have to learn to interpret when they look at other faces. And there's a lot of studies that have been done with babies, how they actually distinguish between this. Karen, you've got a pussycat on you, is that? I thought it was a very fluffy rug because I've got a rug over my legs. And so if we're looking at, real faces versus caricatures, we can really, look at this gorgeous boy, and we can very quickly tell what he's feeling. Here are some categories in terms of emotions, whether we're feeling sad. And then obviously there's language associated, with that. If someone is feeling angry, are they irritated, resentful, are they miffed, are they upset, and so forth. It goes through, scared, tender, excited, happy. So when a child grows up, they have to learn the little nuances, the little variables that they need to, interpret and reflect. So emotions are, in fact, chemical molecules that actually go around in your body. It's not just something that appears on our face. There's actually chemistry associated with emotions. So emotions are information-carrying molecules, and they're really very, very, small, and they're very basic. So what they do is, in this little diagram here of a cell, and it's got its little wiggly little arm up there with its little cup. What happens is that the information-carrying molecule goes into the little cup and it locks in, and that's the cell receptor. It then gets into the cell by traveling down the tail, basically, and then another chemical response is elicited within the cell, and that causes a certain reaction within the cell, and that can then be fed back and will go into some sort of behavior. So this happens on a cellular basis, with a lot of cells becoming engaged, a lot of tissues being engaged. So it's very, very complex, and I guess researchers are now coming to understand that there is chemistry, very much chemistry, involved with this. Now, what is so exciting is that it's not just emotions that are chemistry, but of course our essential oils are chemistry as well. And what happens is that we can make the two interact, and we can make, these two create a response within the cell that is then perhaps towards the positive as opposed to the, the negative. So it's all on a chemical level. So emotions, it's all chemistry. So I don't know if you've done chemistry at school. It was a subject that I didn't like a great deal, but that's what it is. And it's quite amazing how it all comes back to haunt you many years later. So as far as our essential oils are concerned, one drop is equivalent to 40 million trillion molecules. Now that's a heck of a lot of molecules, okay? So I've seen some diagrams around that sort of say that then within a few minutes or so, when we've put an essential oil on, that every cell is serviced by that essential oil. Well, let me just correct that. It's not every cell. It would be a waste, and nothing in nature is ever wasted. So only the cells that actually need the benefits of the essential oils are actually serviced by those chemical compounds in the oil. So the body is very, very smart in in utilizing a resource to make sure that nothing is, wasted somewhere where it's not actually needed, okay? So these chemical compounds service the cells of the body within minutes to detox, restore, and rebalance. And what I mean by that is, let's have a look here. So this gets very technical, so just bear with me here, okay? So essential oils are made up of hundreds of different chemical compounds, all right? We won't go through the names and things like that, but if you have a look at this slide here, and then I'll go and turn over in a minute to another one, it'll make a lot more sense. So in the first red ones there, propanoids and phenols, they clean the receptor sites. So these are the little things that were sticking out at the cell. And what these particular oils do that have these components in high concentrations, they clean these things up. Sesquiterpenes enter the cell. So they go in and they erase and delete all of the bad information that's actually within the cell. And then monoterpenes, they help to reprogram the cells and they reestablish the cell to its healthy state. Isn't that phenomenal that we can get this through oils? It just totally, absolutely blows my mind. So here are some oils. Now, don't get hung up with the numbers and things like that. This was something that Dr. Hill shared. I can't remember exactly which convention it was, but it was some time ago. Now, the numbers that you can see there, 68 AMU behind the phenylpropanoids, sesquiterpenes, 136 AMU. AMU stands for atomic molecular unit or size, okay? Anything that's below 800 means that it can theoretically cross the blood-brain barrier. So you can see here that all of these are below 800, okay? So as far as cleaning cells are concerned, these are some great oils that will actually clean these little cup things out. So clove, cassia, clove is also very high in antioxidants, cinnamon, oregano, peppermint. Peppermint's a great oil. Sesquiterpenes, so here we've got frankincense, we've got our cedar wood, we've got our vetiver, sandalwood. Now, for some of you who have already used oils in the context of this particular discussion tonight, cedarwood and vetiver, I'm sure you're very familiar with those, using a lot of those, because what they do is they deliver oxygen to the cell. So when that cell is oxygenated, it can actually deliver the function. It can actually do what it's supposed to be doing. So that's really cool. And then the monoterpenes are those that reprogram the cell memory. They work on that DNA level. So it's just really super geeky science, but now it'll make more sense as to why we, actually using, certain oils. So we are created to function as a whole. So if we get our body, our mind, and our spirit all beautifully nourished, all equally nourished, I think you'll be, the Dalai Lama sitting on a mountain somewhere. We could then create, beautiful, beautiful wellness. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we don't leave anything out. And where essential oils come in here is that they support this sort of wellness balancing act, as I like to call it. So if we're using our oils, they can help us on a physical, level. They can obviously help us on an emotional and mental level, psychological level. And then there's obviously the spiritual aspect to the oils, as well. And it just helps to really balance us and create this beautiful level of wellness for us. Here are some terms that sometimes you might have heard, and they're all to do with emotional intelligence. Now, I'm not going to go deeply into that at all. There's a lot around, a lot of subject, it's a lot of on this subject area in the literature. So you can perhaps research that yourself. But, self-awareness is really where we are teaching our children to know their emotions and to start recognizing when these feelings occur, and to interpret that and to learn whether something is appropriate or is not appropriate. Self-regulation is handling those, feelings and reacting, to them, and managing their mood. If they fly off the handle, they need to stop and think and kind of analyze, okay, am I heading down the right road here, or do I need to self-regulate? Do I need to calm myself? Do I need to stop and, before I continue going on? And I think these things are, not just applicable for children. I think we all know adults as well. And, it's good to know that, we need to also self-regulate. So self-motivation is obviously using your emotions to cheer yourself up, to clear up any self-doubt, to work on yourself. And I think that doTERRA is very, very is very capable on working on those sort of levels. We often say that doTERRA is a personal development company wrapped up in essential oils. So self-motivation comes into that. And then empathy, recognizing feelings in others, and so that we're tuning into their verbal and nonverbal cues. And then obviously we have social skills where we, dipping into conflict resolution, negotiating, managing our relationships with other people. Where do we fit in the social context, and what can we do to get on with everybody? So I just wanted to, pull this all a little bit together, because I've sort of gone, so we've talked about the science of emotions in terms of it's really chemistry that's steering our emotions, and there's some hard hitting chemical molecules that we're dealing with, and then together with essential oils, the two interact. And we can use one to influence the other. So we really have got some magnificent, tools in our toolbox. We've talked about the language and the thoughts that affect our emotions and affect our cells. So whatever we think can affect how our cell, behaves. And, I just want to refer to someone called Masaru Emoto, a professor in Japan, who passed a couple of years ago, and he did a lot of studies on how water behaves within our emotional context, and how we can make water behave differently. So that might be something you want to research as well. Emoto is the name that you're looking for, and what he showed was that we can create different responses just by the way we think, whether we're giving love to something or whether we're giving hate and nasty thoughts and all those kind of things to something else. And, water molecules react, differently under those circumstances. And when we take his studies and translate them to how they could possibly apply to us, you have to remember that, we're made up mainly of water, 76%, as high as 85%, depending which part of the body you look at. So our thought processes can definitely affect how our cells behave, and then therefore how our emotions, come into the whole thing. I've talked about how to use the oils. And what we're going to do a little bit later, I'm going to talk about how we can dial in an emotion. And then we're going to talk about more specific strategies to support, spirited children or, awesome adults as well. I want to now take, oh, that's pretty clever. I didn't realize I did that. Oh, there you go. How good is that? I love these things. So it gives me great, great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Hannah Miles. Hannah lives in unmute you there, Hannah. Hannah lives in Byron. She has a fabulous website and Facebook group, Nourish to Health, inspiring the movement for detoxing and spiritual living for sensitive families. I love that expression, Hannah. It's awesome. Hannah is a mentor and a coach. She is a children's well-being practitioner at, now I don't know how to pronounce it. You'll have to help me out here. How do you pronounce that? Childosophy?
Childopathy.
Thank you. I probably misspelled it as well. I'm looking at it thinking, oh, I wonder whether that's spelled correctly. Hannah studied nutrition and health coaching at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which is on my radar, perhaps for next year. She has studied nutritional healing, meditation, mindfulness, natural hygiene, and raw vegan nutrition at the Endeavour College. She's a mum of spirited children, and her motto is to heal you first and then heal your child. So Hannah, I'm really, really thrilled and grateful that you are able to jump on tonight's call. I know you have to jump off again at 8. So can you perhaps explain a little bit of what's happening perhaps in your family, and what you have done to help your family and to create a little bit of peace and harmony within your family?
Thank you, Berit. Thank you for having me on, and good evening, ladies. Yeah, that's great listening to all that. It makes me sound wonderful. Yeah, so I was originally very hesitant to my journey of using essential oils when my children were not well. And I did a lot of research. The reason I was hesitant at first to bring them into my healing plan with my children was because I knew how potent they were. I knew how powerful they were. And it's only through sort of trial and error and actually understanding the way that doTERRA makes the oils very differently to a lot of the oils on the market did I kind of bring them into my wellness plan. And both my children were born with lots of conditions, lots of labels. And I just made a stand that I wasn't going to accept any of them, and that I knew how powerful the body was at healing itself. And even though I didn't have the knowledge at the time, I just knew innately that there was another option out there for me. I was very sick myself at the same time, very, very stressful, having children with issues. And I kind of collapsed and put everything into healing them and had to pick myself off the ground. So thus came Nourish to Health. I didn't want another family to go through what we had gone through. And, you know, I put a lot into other people, you know, fix me. I went to all the specialists, spent $600 a pop, you know, every specialist possible to get the answers, and inevitably came out going, okay, I'm still on my own. I'm no wiser. Take this supplement, take this medication, you'll be fine. And it's when I kind of really woke up to the fact that we have our own healing potential inside us, and that we can use things like the essential oils to support us, to guide us, and to support us emotionally and physically detox, that I realized that I had the potential to heal my own children. And so I studied and I studied and I studied, and I've studied every type of nutrition possible, I think. Vedic, traditional nutrition, paleo, GAPS, functional medicine, and it all led me to raw foods and the potential of plant-based foods and the healing that you can get from plants. And essential oils fit into this brilliantly because of the chemical compounds, because the way that our cells react to them. What I do is, with my families that I work with and my clients, is I help them detoxify, and it's different to any other form of, you know, nutritional healing where it's like putting things in. We talk about how we take things out, how we can take the pressure off the body, how we can remove any mucus or waste that's needed to allow the body and the child to really be themselves without the symptoms. So it's not about, you know, are they this or are they not at the end of it? It's about removing the symptoms associated with overburdened toxic body. And the essential oils are just the most magnificent tool for that, that are affordable and easy to use. And, you know, it's not, you know, when you're overwhelmed with the right choices to make for your family and you're not well yourself, the last thing you need is complicated lists of what to do and overwhelming things. But you can stick a few oils in a diffuser and you can rub a few oils on your child's feet, and it makes you feel like you can do something. It makes you feel like you have some power in your unwell child's life. And for me, that was really empowering, and it really gave me something tangible to do and to help my child with, that wasn't, oh, well, if we do all these steps, we'll get there in a year's time. They were instant results that I was getting with my child and that I have seen with my clients as well. One of my favorites to any child that's upset, I'm talking really upset, meltdown upset, is to put some console on them within, I need to time it, Berit, because we've spoken about this. I think it's like 2 seconds or something. It's under 30 seconds. It's really, really super fast. You'll see the child go from hyperventilating, really upset, hyperventilating, to suddenly you put it on, you roll it on their neck, or if the child's really distressed, you can put it on you and then, be near the child. And then suddenly the breathing will slow down and slow down and slow down and slow down. And then eventually, they'll go from that sort of reptilian brain at the back where their amygdala is just firing to the language will come back, the breathing will calm. And then from there, you can use all the other tools because you've just got them back from that fight or flight. You've got them back in. I mean, there's many, many that do that. But for me, console is that easy go-to. I used to run a salt rooms in Geelong, and we had a lot of spirited children come into this salt rooms with a lot of respiratory issues and things, and they would often come in incredibly hyperactive, and I would very discreetly sort of say hello to them and put their little socks on and get them ready while putting In Tune onto the back of their neck. And they'd all calm down, and the parents would go, what is it that you do to them? You're like a magician. How do you calm my children down? I'm like, little bottle here. It's just In Tune. But I see very quickly the effects of these oils, and that's, for me, that was as a mother that wanted support and something that I could do quite quickly with my children. The oils were a part of it. As Dr. Hill often says, for me, I use the oils as a support. The foundation is nutrition and environment. I encourage a lot of meditation and mindfulness, and really that foundation of life, that natural living as a foundation, the beautiful natural real foods, and then you're supporting with the essential oils, and you find that they work more efficiently. They're very instant. And emotionally as well, I have found, for me, it's overwhelming when your child's unwell. It's overwhelming when your child's in a meltdown, when they're struggling at school or whatever it is that's the challenge. And it's my go-to. It's my instant, okay, I know I can calm myself down along with my breath work. I can use, In Tune is a really good one to go to. I really just like frankincense. I love peace. These are really nice oils to calm myself down. And then if I maybe haven't even reacted correctly to my children, something's happened, they've triggered me, I can go straight to console and forgive, and just, or geranium on my heart. There's always something I can choose to go, it's okay. I can calm myself down. I can calm my children down. And Berit, you said, my motto is, I have found time and time again, unless we're all energy bodies, and we all affect each other in our energies. And for me, when I was trying to heal my children from a place of force and that they weren't enough, I'm trying to heal them because they're sick, they're unwell. It was very challenging. When I really took the emphasis off and saw them, and this is what Child Prophecy really helped me with. It's a beautiful modality to see the child's needs and my needs, and that where my needs weren't being met, the child's needs weren't being met. And when I really looked at myself, went, what's going on for me today that's triggering William, that's affecting that's this rushing, this worry, whatever is happening. And so when I would bring it back onto myself and I would use the oils to calm me down emotionally, I'd be able to say, okay, this is about me actually. This is not really about the children. And then it was easier to, literally unlock them. I would work on myself. And this is what I encourage all of my clients to do. Work on yourself first. We don't even talk about and touch the children until your foundation is worked on, your self-care is in, your health plan, everything is sorted. And then the ricochet effect helps the children. And that's, again, how the oils come in. You know, you can put a diffuser on and you can calm everybody in your house and or in your school. I mean, I've got diffusers in all of my kids' classrooms. I donated them because I wanted my children to have the oils during the day. And I seem to be supplying the school in rollerballs as well. The teachers like to use them now, so I'll give them to the teachers, and the teachers use them on some of the other spirited children, which helps everybody if everyone's in the class. We all just had an email literally 2 or 3 days ago. One of the kids in Edward's class has got nits, so we've all promised ourselves we're all going to do, you know, a wild orange and a eucalyptus little head bath, so that we all come back without nits. You know, we're working as a class using these oils as well, which is amazing as a community.
And what oils do they diffuse in the classroom?
So Easy Air and On Guard are the two main ones. And then I set them up a grounding blend as well that they sometimes use depending on what part of the day. They do something called a rhythmy, which is a bit like kind of movement kinesiology. And so they use a lot of more grounding oils for that. But mainly it's On Guard and Easy Air, because I also don't want to overcomplicate teachers. But that helps with the respiratory side. And most of the parents in my class are using essential oils now. So I'll often do reminders of like, okay, quite a few kids are coming down with something, let's get our On Guard out, do a round of On Guard, or digestion. A lot of, like, you know, a lot of the parents are using digestion on their children, on their stomachs and on their feet as well. And then I did find that beginning of term 2, I encouraged everybody to do a little flu bomb. There was probably about a third of the class that did that. So that was quite good.
Excellent. Well, especially at this time of the year. But if we're looking at the oils that are in those particular blends, again, they fall into those sort of 3 categories there that I mentioned earlier on, in terms of, you know, detoxing the cells and restoring balance and oxygenating cells. So it's, you know, it's really awesome that, you know, on that sort of level, when we're looking at the sort of, you know, the science sort of, you know, background there. What would you do in the case of, you know, changing a child's diet around? I mean, I come across a lot of parents and, you know, through the hair follicle analyses that I do, and the children that I test, they have to be over 7 because they need to have the same nutritional profile generally as an adult, and they get closer to that when they're around about 7 and older. And I look at the diet of these children and I just have to shake my head. And, you know, obviously it's always nice to make that suggestion to amend the diet to something that's more wholesome, and it's more whole food based, more plant based, and those type of things. When you've got a child that's so restricted, what would you suggest? How do you change a child's diet? Let's say the parents are aware and they...
What's wrong now? I can't do this, Leo.
Let me just unmute that. You know, how would you change a child's diet when they're quite sort of resistant?
So there's a few ways. I mean, I think no matter what, you know, camp you're in regarding nutrition or your understanding of nutrition, I think we can all agree that whole foods is definitely the way to go. So, you know, if it looks like the original food, it's still a whole food. If it's been processed and created into something different, it's no longer a whole food. If it's been extracted from something or taken from something. So always encourage my parents to ask themselves, is it whole food? Does it still look like an apple? Then it's an apple. If it no longer resembles the apple or the coconut or the, you know, it's not a whole food. It's not going to be recognized. As you said, the body is made up of cells. The cells have chemical compounds. Things that put in the body have got chemical compounds. For me, food that goes in, it's like a barcode, and it needs to be read by the body. We take the protein here and the carbohydrates here and the enzymes here. If it no longer resembles that, it's very hard for the body to understand what it is. So it plants it into, well, you're a toxin, you're a poison for the body. So we'll store that with all the other toxins that we're getting. So whole foods is number one. Encouraging the child to get really involved with it. Often the children aren't as resistant as the parents, I have found. The children actually are more open to change than the parents think. Again, we are all energy, and if the parent puts a food down with the fear of, well, you've rejected this 12 times, you're going to reject it again, why am I wasting my time? The child feels that energy, that resistance to it. So first of all, I get the parents to be completely 100% on board, completely changing their lifestyle first, then encourage it to the child. The ripple on effect happens. Increasing, I mean, you know, the parent is the person that buys the food. Mm-hmm. Majority of the time. So the parent has the responsibility to fill the food, fill the fridge and the kitchen with all of those beautiful, abundant fruits and vegetables, so that it becomes apparent that's the way we're eating now. And I often find that the child then comes around a lot more if that food is constantly there, available, if they can grab the fruit as an option and the crisps and cakes aren't there anymore, but the fruit's there. I see it time and time again when kids come to my house, no matter what their diet is, they're like, oh my God, a big plate of fruit, amazing. And they're tucking in, they love it. The second thing I would say is that children don't like to be controlled. They are born as complete human beings. They are beautiful, complete beings. And often we don't really give them, we try and control everything in their life, and we have to control a lot. We have to keep them safe. They can't have the choice of everything, but we try and give them as much choice as possible, where as possible. So instead of saying, you've got to sit down and eat this broccoli because it's good for you, give them a selection of 5 or 6 vegetables. What do you think you want with your favorite food that you always have? You want your pasta? Okay, well, we're going to introduce one new food now. What do you think you would like out of this? Give them that choice. Smorgasbords are really good as well. Instead of making the child eat what's on their plate, which is another control thing, we are not really allowing the child's needs to be met. Put a big platter of different fruits and vegetables and different options, and a few of their things that they love as well, a few of their favorite foods. And you'll find that they'll eventually start, oh, just try that and try that. And you can leave it be. You're like, oh, cool, you tried that. As if I said, oh my God, you tried the carrot, well done. It's like, oh yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you tried the carrot, great. And if they didn't, oh well, it's fine. You know, take the charge out of the food, take the energy behind it out. And then the third thing is to really empower the child. Really talk to the child like, this is your body, and we need to love your body. And, I love a little story about how, there's 2 little bunnies that go home, one with one family and one with another. And one family feeds their bunny like sweets and cakes and pizza, and that bunny gets very sick and doesn't look very happy. And the other bunny goes home and gets fed lovely lettuce and carrots and gets fresh grass and water and loved and cuddled. What bunny do you think is going to have the best life? And all the kids go, oh, the bunny that's got the grass and the lettuce. It's like, well, you're my bunny, darling, and I love you, and I want to feed you well, and I love you, and I want you to love your body. And it's empowering them to make this journey, as opposed to the control thing again of like, this is the way we're doing it, this is your choice. If they see you do it, if they monkey see, monkey do, they see you make these changes in your home and empower yourself and change yourself, they're going to want to do what mummy does. They've encouraged those habits from us as parents. So they're going to want to then change with it. And getting them involved with the shopping, the growing. Like we used to, when the kids were little, we would have a little checklist of what we were getting from the supermarket. I'd make it into a game. Who can put 10 lemons in the basket fast enough? Who can find me a pumpkin? Quick, the biggest pumpkin. Who? Go. Kids love that stuff. Yeah. And they're empowered because, hey, well, like they've bought this, or they've grown it, or they've picked it, or they've gone to the market, or whatever it is. And slowly, they'll start to want to know, well, what are you going to do with that? Well, why don't we explore? And you never force them. So it's like, oh, let's create something together. You don't have to eat it. It's fine. One of the best things that ever works for me and for the parents I work with is, don't you dare eat mummy's green smoothie. That's mummy's. Yes. Leaving that there, I'm going to the toilet. Don't you dare. And they're like, oh, I've seen mummy drink this. She says it's nice. I wonder what it tastes like. It's like, get them curious, get them excited about fruits and vegetables and eating healthily and their body. There's beautiful games online that you can do that show little match-up cards of like ears are good for mushrooms, and celery is good for bones, and you can match them up and get them really excited about what this is doing for their bodies. It's a bit old school, but things like Popeye eats spinach for muscles, like that's where he's getting his protein from, the beautiful greens. Kids love superheroes. They love to be empowered. You can be like, this is going to make your eyes super strong, and this is going to make you, this beautiful green salad's going to make your muscles really strong, and they love that. They love that little competition and that enhancing themselves. So for me, it's about empowerment. It's about releasing the control and getting them on journey with you, as opposed to this is something you're inflicting on them. And monkey see, monkey do. It's about changing your lifestyle, changing your way of living. And the same thing with the oils. I would never inflict the oils onto a child. I'd always ask them, even a baby, like, I'm going to, permission to put these oils on you, and put them on yourself first. Oh, you smell nice, mummy. Do you want some oil too? It's the same thing. It's like, just let them learn through what you do in life.
Oh, definitely. No, I love that. And I used to, when my children were little, they're now all adults, but I used to use that same reverse psychology thing too. Used to put a big platter on the table with some dips that were full of herbs and all sorts of things. And now, don't you touch that, until I come back. And before I knew that, munched away in a whole sort of salad bowl. So there are just some very inventive ways to do it, but I'd certainly agree with, not making too much of a fuss on the whole scenario, because that just invites, is this different to normal kind of thing, and makes them curious in a negative kind of a sense. So before we lose you there for your call, what's your daily routine with the children then with the oils? Or do they have their own daily routine?
It's kind of so William's now 8, and Edward's 6, turning 7 in a couple of weeks. They're starting to really have their own routine, but prior to that, it's in the morning, put the diffusers on, and I usually use something uplifting like wild orange or lemongrass and ginger, something really sort of very uplifting and bright to get them up. They're usually up pretty early. I don't need to wake them up in the morning, but get them ready for school. And then I have on my bench, I have all the Aroma Touch oils, and so they'll often choose which ones they want. I have a beautiful little wall chart which has got all of like their emotions on, how they're feeling, and that matches up to which oil I give them as well, depending on where they're at in the day. And then before I drop them off to school in the car, I have my little bag of oils that I have in my handbag, and I'll either ask them what do they feel like they need, or I'll put on what I'm feeling they're needing that day. So there might be some in tune, it might be their own individual grounding blend or uplifting blend. I have one child that needs to come down and one child that needs to go up. So they're often very different oils. One is like, okay, this is going to perk you up for get through school, and this is going to keep you grounded. And then during the school, the teachers use their blends. They have, the little doTERRA purses. They have all the mini oils.
Yep.
If anything ever goes, they get a cut or graze, or they need anything, they've got their little first aid kit at school, and their teachers know which one's what. But I actually put inside that, I put a little rundown of what oil is going to be good for what, so that if the teacher ever forgot. Then when I pick them up, I have a diffuser in my car that I put cedarwood and lavender on, and that diffuses in, because for me, routine is really important. Circadian rhythm is important in healing. And we don't do any after activities after school. It's all about, okay, how can we calm down from a really intensive day at school? They both go to Steiner School. It's play outside all day. So the cedarwood and lavender gets put on in the car. And then when I get home, so I work from home. I'm very lucky that I get to work from home and that I get to pick up my children. So I will set the diffusers before I leave the house. I'll set the diffusers on either something like cedarwood or white fir something very kind of just grounding, usually a pine or a wood oil. And then when they come into the house, it's already, the salt lamps are on, you know, it's already quite relaxing for them. And then they have oils in their baths as well. So we use a magnesium bath, which is 1 cup of magnesium flakes and half a cup of bicarb, and maybe about 5 drops of either lavender, vetiver, depending on what they've, like, if they come back really mucky, I'll put a grapefruit oil in to help kind of pull out the mud from their pores. But usually it's about calming them down. Frankincense might go into the bath. And then I'll put their diffusers on. And again, Edward has easy air because his weakness is always within his lungs. And William will have cedarwood and frankincense because they're his 2 favorites. He loves cedarwood. It's his go-to oil. He loves it more than anything. Frankincense and cedarwood are his two major ones. And then I'll run the diffusers and they listen to a meditation at night. So they'll go to bed like that. So that's the basic one. But in their bedroom, they have a little shelf with all of their favorite oils on. And they're now at the stage where they're picking their own and they can put the diffuser on what they want. Some of the concoctions have not been nice, but majority of the time they choose pretty good.
Choose pretty wisely. Yes.
Yeah. They love their oils. I had to stop them going to school. I had to give them to the teachers because they were actually trading essential oils at school with some of the other kids that were using oils. They would like swap their rollerballs, and I lost a few rollerballs of pure frankincense a couple of times. So I had to put a stop to that. Like, just use cards like everyone else.
That's right. Oh, no, that's awesome. Gives us an idea of how to run down those things. Now, your Facebook page is also called Nourished to Health, isn't it?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook page, Nourished to Health, and then I have a support group, a free support group, which is just for anyone wanting to transition to a higher raw food diet and natural living without chemicals. And I do lots of lives on there and supports and challenges and different things, and give you an idea of what our lifestyle is like on there as well. So that's actually called Raw Foods and Detoxing for Spiritual Living for Sensitive Families. But the link you can find on my personal page or my Nourished Health page.
Well, what I'll do is after I'll pop the Facebook pages into the event, and then anybody who wants to, get more detail, they can contact you. And obviously, you're available as well as a mentor and as a coach on a professional level to support families who've got a greater or more specific need to get more coaching and a bit more help as well.
There's so much that can be achieved with, even simple changes. It doesn't have to be completely 100% raw if that's not what's your alignment, but changing the way that we eat the food, the times we eat the food, the combinations that we eat the foods in, becoming more mindful. All these things can be really helpful. Having a really good morning and evening routine can really support the child as well and the entire family. So there's certainly lots we can do, and with tools like Child Prophecy and meditation and different things, we can really get to understand what the child's needs are and what inevitably the mother's needs are that aren't being met.
No, that's lovely. Hannah, I'm so grateful that you found some time to share your wisdom in our lovely little circle here tonight. I will let you go because I know you've got a call to make, but I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. And I'll put those links into the event, and so then anybody can glean, a little bit more information from your pages. So thanks so much, Hannah. We'll let you go.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Hannah. So we will continue on with some more strategies. So they're not unlike what Hannah shared there with us. To really keep things very, very simple. Include your child. I mean, let them have their own bottles if they're really little and they can't read labels. Maybe get them textured bottles, or get them bottles that are, colored, those kind of things, so that they, can identify their own, own sort of bottles. Let them experiment. And also trust their intuition. So as Hannah was saying, earlier on, she would put an oil on and a small child would say, oh, that smells really nice. Well, that obviously then resonates, with the child. And if you've got access to an iTovi, then an iTovi is a device, if you're new to all of this, that uses kind of bioresonance, and we can quickly identify what the child needs by way of oils. And, ask the person that has sent you to this particular class to see if they have an iTovi device handy, or if they know somebody who does, because that is, also very, very nice. I have no idea where all these pink things come from on my screen, but anyway, there we go. There is also bio-individuality. So, every child is different. So what works for one child may not necessarily, work for another child. And it's the same with adults. So, the biggest example that I can cite with the essential oils is, for most of us, peppermint would keep us, awake at night, and we would use lavender to go to sleep. However, I know people who use peppermint to go to sleep with. So we're all kind of different. So, with this comes a lot of trial and error and, a little bit of practice to see what oils will work. So let's just run over some of these basics. And aromatically for these children is probably really the best kind of support. And generally for emotions, we always say that gives you literally the biggest bang for your buck, and it's a faster response, because remember, you're smelling the oil, and that then goes straight into your brain and then creates a response. And that's really, really very, very quick. If you're wanting to make up some blends and you want to trial them, then what I would suggest is that you make up a mother blend in an empty bottle. So don't ever throw your bottles away when you've got them, use them. And then you can use half for your diffuser, and the other half you could add some fractionated coconut oil to. So that's FCO, the fractionated coconut oil. And then you could use that for topical application if they go to school, like Hannah said, or you could put some drops of that mother blend, into the diffuser, or you could put one drop on a bracelet. I've just taken my bracelets off, but the bracelets that you can get with the lava stones on them, the lava beads on them, or the necklaces, or you might even make some necklaces with some clay pendants. That's kind of fun activity to do. And then you could put one drop of the mother blend on that for them to have that sort of diffusion throughout the day, if the school or the kindy are not, into essential oils, because, I think we all know that not all of them are, unfortunately. We're working very hard on changing that around. You could also put it onto their, onto the shirt, onto their collar. And I even know some mums, a sneaky way is they've put it onto the elastic of their underpants, put some oils on there. You could maybe do that even with your partner, if they just reckon that oils are a little bit voodoo and a bit hippie chic stuff. That's a sneaky way to, perhaps get some oils to them. Start with one blend first and just give it some time. Maybe just use it for a week, observe what's going on, and then you need to record. Especially if you're making up your blends. Once you've been around for a little while around the oils, you tend to kind of grab a little bit of this, grab a little bit of that, and you kind of put them together. And then the next day, I'm sure, I'm not the only one, you've completely forgotten what you've put in there. So make a little record and record really, how their behavior has, changed, whether it's got worse, whether it's hyped them up too much, that kind of thing. So it's time for a little bit of scientific research there, if you like. A really nice little blend that's great for focusing and concentration is using 2 drops of wild orange and a drop and peppermint and 1 drop of frankincense. So if you're starting off and someone really needs, to be uplifted, and so that they get to do their homework, then that's a really, really lovely blend, to use, for that. Now, topically, there's a really cool way to use the oils with the children. This came from a colleague of mine called Natalie Grieg. She did a workshop some years back now, and she coined this particular method, the zipper. And so in the mornings, if you imagine we're putting our pants on, our trousers on, and we would zip up our zipper. So in the mornings, you put the oil up the spine, just along the length of the spine. And in the evening, when we take our pants down and we pull our zipper down, you put the oil down the spine. So it's not a rubbing in motion, but rather, in the mornings, it goes up, you come away from the back and you rub it up again. And it's all about facilitating that sort of, movement, towards the head. There's another method that that Natalie talked about, which is called the roll over, roll on. So it's a bit hard there. I hope you can see. Just imagine I put some balance onto my wrist, and you just like a perfume, we would, rub our wrists together. So we do it like this, then we turn it over and we go the other way. Okay. And that's really a little bit bizarre, right? What that does is it facilitates the crossing over of the hemispheres, because we're, either left or right hand brain, more dominant in either sphere. And by doing this roll over, we're actually kind of facilitating that. And balance oil is perfect way to ground the child if they're apt to be, kind of up there. And it obviously, you would do the same for yourself. As Hannah said, heal yourself first before you heal your child. You could even do it, this is sort of more with sort of older children. And this is something that I actually just learned on Sunday, and it was totally hysterical to see two adults facing each other, and we were doing a counting game. So I would start with 1, and then my partner would say 2, and then I would say 3, and then we were just going back and forwards, right? And then the thing was to leave out the word 2, but put a clap into it. So I would say 1, my partner would clap. I would say 3, she would say 1, I would clap. And that again is just this whole crossing over kind of brain. And then we introduced the hopping, and then we did it all together. And then we just burst out laughing because it was just too hysterical that we're all numbnuts at it. So it was kind of funny. But the idea of that being to really facilitate, the brain to kind of focus on something. So that's really cool. The other thing one could do very easily in the in the morning, and this is, you need to have a little bit of cooperation, obviously, with the child, is to put a drop of frankincense into your palm of your hand, and then you dab your thumb into that, and then take that then to the roof of your mouth. Now, it's an acquired taste, I give you that. It's not, you wouldn't drink a whole bottle of frankincense or a drop of frankincense in a bottle of water. What that does is, when we put it to the roof of the mouth, that frankincense gets to really close to the brain. So obviously that's a great way we would want to have it, and it facilitates oxygenation and the whole process of working on the DNA and all those kind of things, because of the high sesquiterpene content. So these were some things that Natalie spoke of. So using the balance oil on our wrists, the frankincense to the roof of the mouth. And then let's look at some other cool combos. So In Tune is a beautiful blend in our, roll-on. And it has got 2 different types of frankincense in it, sandalwood rather. It's got frankincense in it. It has lime in it. It's a beautiful oil to really facilitate, that focusing. That's when we've got to knuckle down, when we have to be on task. And that's when we like to use, In Tune. Now, in our roller bottle, that's just essential oil. You may choose to dilute that. So I know some mamas who have taken half of that off and filled it up with fractionated coconut oil. So kind of 1 bottle made 2 bottles of, 2 10 ml roller bottles. And this is the one that you would roll up the spine in the morning, and at nighttime you would roll it down the spine. And, after school, you would still use it up the way, because obviously you still have to get through the rest of the day. Balance, use morning and night. And then lavender peace, morning, night, and maybe after school as well, in the diffuser as well. So back of the neck is really good. Soles of the feet, as I said, the knicker band, the shirt collar, even a tissue or a hanky or a pendant. And one of my sons, my youngest son, was still at school then. He would run off with a little tissue in a Ziploc bag with some essential oils in it for, focusing and concentrating. And it worked, absolutely worked wonders. So dialing an emotion, I just want to touch on that, a little bit. These are some amazing books that we have access to, Emotions and Essential Oils, and its associated wheel. It's got positive properties on one side and negatives on the others. So that's a top book that I like to use. But you can also download an app if you haven't downloaded an app yet. It's called Daily Drop, and it looks like, let me just get my phone. Daily Drop, it's a purple drop, and then it has doTERRA's Fancy O with the bar across, in it. And let me just see if I can bring that up. Could have shared it. That's what it looks like when you come to it. And it's got a whole heap of videos that you can watch. And when you go into the top right-hand corner, it has a little button that says determine your mood. And if someone's really having a meltdown or has got an emotion that they really can't cope with, that's really kind of cool, and it will give you the emotional aromatherapy oils as a go-to. So there are some things there, but the Daily Drop is absolutely free. It's a fantastically powerful tool to have access for free to some beautiful, essential oil information. So when I say dial an emotion, this is really what I'm talking about as well. That the wheel is a bit like this. So if you want to, create a little bit more joy, whether you want to feel more cheerful and so forth, children, this might help children to express themselves a little bit more in terms of what sort of emotions they want to seek. And then you can go to the wheel, or you could go to the wheel, straight out. But this is kind of what I was you're talking about. These are our emotional aromatherapy oils. So here are the citruses at the top, covered by Motivate and Cheer. But if you've only got the Home Essentials kit, which is what most people start out with, our citrus oil that we've got already in our kit is the lemon oil. Okay, so lemon oil is, very uplifting. It's also great for concentration and focus. So that's wonderful. Our spice oils here. So that's covered somewhere between the cheer and passion. So again, in our Home Essentials kit, we have On Guard as our spice oil. That has got cinnamon and cloves in it, so you could reach for that. Herbs and grasses. We've got Forgive down the bottom here, which Hannah mentioned, and that was more for herself, I guess, to help her forgive herself if she had made perhaps the wrong choice as far as the emotions were concerned, or the way she was dealing with the child, and she had to forgive herself first for having perhaps made the wrong choice. As far as our Home Essentials kit is concerned, herbs and grasses, we've got that covered with our tea tree oil. Our tree oils, here's the console that Hannah was talking about. Our tree oils, we've got frankincense as our tree oil in the Home Essentials kit. Floral oils between console and peace. So peace is a beautiful oil just to kind of really calm, people down. And our floral oils, we have, what do we have in our Home Essentials kit? Oh, we have lavender, of course. And then our mints up here, that's obviously peppermint. So, so that's really cool in terms of our oils that we've already got if you don't have these particular oils. All right. I like the way someone's writing on my screen, unless I've done that. I find that really interesting. Okay, so if we've got some other oils here, Serenity, which we know in Australia as lavender peace, that's when we need a bit more calming, composing, placating. If we need to be, like as Hannah said, if we need a bit more uplifting, we can reach out for citrus bliss or elevation. Then balance is super grounding. And you know what? I'll have to be honest. I don't think there's no other, I think we all need balance oil. I think life is just a little bit hectic. It's a bit 21st century. There's just a lot going on. And I think it's very easy for us to get caught up in the drama of things. And when we're caught up in the drama of things, that's obviously when our children participate in that as well, because they pick up what happens to us. So, those are some amazing oils. Here's a Grouchy Pants blend. It's amazing when you start going hunting for things. And that is just some balance and some lavender. Apply that to the back of the neck or on the wrist, and then just inhale that deeply. And, that could be a really, really lovely blend to actually put in a diffuser. But you could put that on, on yourself before going to bed, as well. So for your awesome children, for the unmotivated, the ones that lack drive, they're a bit scattered, they lack focus, they may be emotionally flatlining. Here are some oils that could perhaps assist. In tune, that we've mentioned already, past tense, if there's a lot of tension, perhaps a lot of, maybe even a little bit of anger, aggression that goes with it. Peppermint is lovely. Just don't use it last thing at night. That's I just feel that perhaps could hype things up a little bit more. Vetiver. Vetiver is an amazing oil that's just so grounding. I've nicknamed it the concrete boots. I really feel that once you use lavender, vetiver, you're really not going to go very far. And if you put it together with lavender, it's pretty awesome. Peaceful Child blend, I'll give you that in a sec. Lemongrass, clove, frankincense with orange and or peppermint, but as I said, not at night time. Now, I don't know if this will work. Nope, it doesn't work. There is a beautiful, or there used to be a beautiful thing online with Intune, a little boy relating how he used to go to school and used to be looking around and out the window and would get regularly into trouble with his teachers because he just appeared to be daydreaming. All right. Maybe the teacher was, not the most exciting teacher, but, at any rate, this child wasn't fully engaged. And, he found that with using Intune, he really settled and was really present. And, having been a teacher in my previous life, I feel if you've got to teach, a child that's present, then at least, something's going to go in here at some rate. So at some point. So they are empowered to live fully connected and in the present moment lives. And I think that's for adults as much as children. And I do love my Intune. I use it a lot on the back of my neck when, during the day, just to get me through. Lavender is the oil of communication. This all comes from this beautiful yellow book that I showed you earlier on, Essential Oils and Emotions, or Emotions and Essential Oils. And sometimes we have children want to tell you something, but they get so caught up in the moment that the words aren't coming out. Their brain's already 3 conversations ahead of when their mouth is still trying to catch up. And so lavender can perhaps help them to to catch up and verbalize what they want to say, and help them to actually speak their truth as well. And someone who experiences perhaps a little bit of fear when it comes to public speaking, just put a little bit of lavender oil on your throat, and it's just really beautiful way to do it. But in the diffuser, in the bath, on the child would be really, really lovely. So that allows you to share your true self with others. So here is the Peaceful Child blend. So for those of you who I sent the sample pack to, that's the little bottle that has got a white label on it or no label at all. What I did was I mixed it all up, and then I put the drops into your little vial. It has no fractionated coconut oil in it, so it's you could dilute that a little bit. It gives you some options. Now there are some other Peaceful Child blends around. This is the original one that I hunted out some years ago, and it's been really very, very successful. So with the vetiver, ylang ylang, which is grounding. It also helps with keeping the whole body calm. Lavender, definitely very soothing. And then your frankincense comes in there to really rejig things, at that sort of cellular level. And clary sage allows for that vision of something, better. And marjoram, we know how beautifully relaxing and soothing that is for muscles. And it's obviously also in our lavender piece, so that helps us to sleep and just to kind of calm down without fidgeting. So Peaceful Child blend is just beautiful, for that. And the power of affirmations is quite amazing. So it's a good thing to touch on as well. And Hannah has already done that earlier on. When the oils are applied, this is a way of anchoring ourselves. I am at peace, I am calm, I am well, I am present. And you repeat this 3 times as you inhale the oil. And that's something that you can teach even very young children. And if you repeat this time and time, they will hear in the tone of your voice, the intention that you are setting. And that's all, that matters quite a lot. The other thing I didn't include here is you could do some tapping as well, using EFT or emotional freedom technique tapping, which just facilitates anchoring. And it's a beautiful book that I'm reading at the moment, is Anchor. There we go, Anchor to your Strengths. It's as a result of a seminar that I attended on Sunday, which is all about StrengthsFinder. It's a different topic. But here it talks a great deal about how aromatherapy is just the really best way to anchor to emotions, to anchor to your strengths, in particular that book, but to anchor to your emotions. Some carefree blends, carefree being, not being agitated and, engaging in the drama in life. So wild orange and elevation are absolutely beautiful, or frankincense and lavender peace. 4 drops of each, and then apply that to the wrist and base of the neck and skull. There are some others there: orange, wild orange, patchouli, or frankincense, or use geranium, bergamot, and clary sage. So you can use, or actually all of that, make your mother blend, and then just use a couple of drops of that in your diffuser. And just, again, monitor. It's really crucial that you monitor what your child, what happens. And as Hannah touched on, that, within a couple of seconds, she found that, her child was relaxing and calming down and getting himself out of that sort of stushy, which is a great Scottish word, but out of the mess that he was, that he was in. Another great relaxation blend: frankincense and bergamot, sandalwood and Roman chamomile. So 2 drops of each oil, or ylang ylang. I missed a couple of letters there. Geranium, bergamot, wild orange again. So you've got a couple of beautiful blends there to go with. Past tense is perhaps more for an adult, I would think, or for a teenager. It can be very bitey because of the wintergreen it has in it, and the peppermint, the high contents of the peppermint that it has in it. So it's more of an adult oil, I feel personally, rather than using it for for a child. Jetty's blend is a famous blend as well. You can see I just picked this up off Facebook. Patchouli, balance, serenity, which is lavender peace, lavender, and then fractionated coconut oil. So put that into a 10 ml roller bottle, and then use that 2-3 times a day. So that could be also a great blend to diffuse. And it's a really lovely smelling blend, actually, even though I'm not a fan so much of patchouli. If fear is holding children back, fear of going to school, fear of perhaps doing something, perhaps eating a food or whatever there might be, this could be a really nice empowering blend. And again, with that sort of, affirmation to go with that. I'm capable and strong. I feel joy daily. I am safe. I have enough. I am enough. And beautiful to put on a pendant, as well. So ginger is the oil of empowerment. Cypress is the oil of flow and motion. It's done to keep moving, basically moves through whatever is the fear there. Strengthening self-worth. This is perhaps more for teenagers. You go through those teenage years when everybody just is thinner, skinnier, taller, bigger, more muscles, faster, whatever it might be, and we start to knock ourselves. And so that might just eat away as well at someone. Courage. It's another blend, maybe perhaps more for teenagers if they are really just held back from life and they don't want to move forward, then this is a beautiful oil. And ginger certainly is really super, for that, and use that with that affirmation. Lemon oil, which comes in our Home Essentials kit, oil of focus. So it really helps to work with the left brain, the more analytical brain. So when it comes to really knuckling down for some homework, it could be beautiful to diffuse that, in the diffuser, have that even in the car and get things kind of going. And what I like, it clears that self-judgment about learning, such as I'm not a good student. And if a child gets a lot of knocks at school and negative feedback, then that can very quickly creep in. I'm the dummy, I'm not good, everybody else is better kind of thing. So this lemon oil is just a very simple, it's a beautiful oil that can help with that side of things. And because it works on the left side, you then put it onto the right side of the body. There we go. Inhale from the bottle or use in a diffuser. Tea tree oil, great for the knits side of things as well, but it creates those boundaries. And if you find you have a very, very sensitive child, then you may want to teach them how to use tea tree oil or melaleuca, or you could even use On Guard as well, which is a protective blend. Again, tea tree oil and On Guard are in our Home Essentials kit. Teach them to put a drop into their hand with some fractionated coconut oil, and then they rub their hands together really vigorously. And then they just run that over their body like this without actually touching the body. And it kind of creates a little bit of one little boy said to me once, it's like a force field that I've got around me and nobody can get at me. And he called it his Superman suit. So, that could be really supportive if you've got a very, very sensitive soul who gets, annoyed easily and triggered by, by other children. Oil of breath, or, easy air or breathe, again in our Home Essentials kit. And Hannah was saying that they diffuse this at school together with the On Guard. And we've actually got the same thing happening in a lot of kindies that we've got access to, and they're diffusing easy air and On Guard. Hannah mentioned Console as the meltdown, getting into a complete mess oil. But equally, while I've heard that Digest Zen can be very useful for that, and you would literally just have that on your hand and maybe touch them at the back if you can grab hold of them, or just put it on you. Quickly just put it in your hands and, waft it about. And that's for a child that's completely overloaded with information and stimulation. And supermarkets would be a really good time to have this oil to hand in your handbag, or maybe even put that on before you go in. There is, the announcement over the PA, there is the music, there is the trolleys, there is the shoppers, there is all sorts of energy and emotions and nonsense going on in the supermarket aisles. And some children are extremely sensitive to that, and they just get overloaded and can't cope. So have some Digest-N ready. Frankincense, oil of truth, it's a must-have. It's in your home essentials kit. As I said, pop it onto the hand, dab your thumb in, and then take that thumb to the top of the mouth. It's just beautiful to support other oils. So when you use frankincense with other oils together, it seems to amplify, magnify the effect of all the other oils. So it's just absolutely brilliant as an enhancer. And we've touched on the foundation. I won't go much into this now, but, good nutrition is key. So, you want to have some good routines, some good rules, and also some, perhaps some consequences. But speak to Hannah, get hold of her, because she obviously has made a huge inroad there. If you're attracted to, her particular way of dealing with things, which is very successful. So I would encourage you to, to get onto her pages and, check out what she does and how she works things out. So you've been overwhelmed. I hope not. There is a lot of information I said at the start that I will include in this. I just felt that, at least this way I know that you've got it. There is a lot of information that you can get from books, from apps, obviously from our doTERRA.com.au site. If you're really if you want to delve deeper into the science of things, then aromaticscience.com is an amazing website that will give you a lot on the scientific aspect of the oils. And if you haven't enrolled with us, or with the person that has sent you to our class tonight, then it's very, very easy peasy. You just choose the kit. We would always recommend a kit to get. And on the bottom left there with the diffuser, you can see the Home Essentials kit. That will see you through, the vast majority of issues within the family, whether they're emotional, mental, or physical. And then the Nature's Solution Kit is another favorite of mine because it's got, so many other products in it that then can easily be woven into, daily life. So just decide what works for you, and then speak with the person that invited you to help you to become, an oil user. And if you wish, you can participate there in our monthly ordering club. It's optional. When you order one item, that's a minimum then. There, and you can get some product credits, you can get free products. It's totally flexible by way of dates. You get extra bonuses and all sorts. But at the end of the day, you just completely in control there. So we're a natural healthcare company, really. That's what doTERRA is all about, and we love nothing better than to engage with everybody and give you some tips and some tricks on how to improve your life and ensure that you can create a little bit of, peace and, harmony within your home, whether that's for your children or for partners, or maybe even in your workplace where you can perhaps discreetly, diffuse some oils or just douse yourself in the morning as you waft in. It's going to be everywhere. That's the kind of way forward. So let me just stop sharing here now.